Hello, 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 hello. We are finally back together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Chatterbox after a really long time. And I am together with my fellow enablers of the test chat community who need no introduction. And I am too small to introduce them, but still, I will have the audacity to introduce and try and introduce. So with me is Teapot joining from Kent in the UK. It's 7 a.m. his time. Waking up early is not his best habit, but he has done really well to do so today.
You
Uh,
always wake me up early.
he's a man with more than 25 years of experience in the testing industry, has got a wealth of knowledge. Sorry, and and he does a really good job in expressing what he wants to talk about testing. Then we have Faiz Modi. He's joining us from Kutch. Faiz, are you still there in Kutch or are
Hello.
you back home in
Yes.
Pune?
Yes.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
am still
So he's
Kutch.
joining us. He is a wizard in automation. Does his things quietly, but speaks well, writes very well, and is of course one of the pillars of the test chat community. And then finally, last but definitely not the least, is whom we like to call Sharma ji ka beta or Sharma ji's son, Sachin Sharma, the man who has his proficiency in agile. I have not seen anybody speak about agile testing as fluently as Sachin does. His hold over agile and agile concepts is phenomenal. I think you have the Scrum Guide by heart, don't you? Agile Manifesto, of course, I know you have
Yeah.
it by heart, but you also have the Guide by heart. Anyways, so today we and of course I am Brijesh Deb, you know, one of the four pillars of the Test Chain Community Enablers Group. Um, Today we are here to talk about skills of a modern day tester, and we're going to be talking about skills and not tools today. So you're free to ask your questions anytime. We will take them up as we go along. Okay, we will not park the questions till the very end. So, so bring on your questions. We will be happy to answer them. So, without any further delay, let's get into the discussion, guys. Um, Skills of a modern day tester, your perspectives, starting with Teapot.
Thank you, British. Morning, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So the our skills, I can call them standard, traditional. They haven't entirely changed. What has changed is the sort of applications and things we will be testing or that we are testing now. Now, that in itself is a change. So, to survive in the current, I call it current market in software testing, we need to fine tune and revise how we do a lot of things. We need to be mindful of the sort of applications that is available to test, sort of things that we need to do. But what doesn't change actually is the fundamentals, is the basic things that we all need to learn and do. For example, thinking. This market belongs to people who can think their way out of trouble. We should be able to think our ways out of trouble. Our rush should not be to a certain methodology or a certain tool or a certain anything without sort of thinking is true. Why do I need to do it? Why do I need to do it this way? Now, why do I need to do it? Is a good question. It will teach you a lot of things. But if you ask yourself, why do you need to do it this way? It changes the question for you because you are not only looking at the question, you are looking at the options. Can I do it this way? Can I do it that way? There's always more than one way to do anything if we want to be factual with one another. But there's usually the best way to do it. Some people say industry best practices. There's no such thing. It just means what works best. What works best? If it works for me, well, if you ask me for my opinion, I'll tell you what works for me. That is how we come about all this industry best practice and all of that. There's no such thing in reality. So that is one thing. The second thing that goes along with that is questioning. I question myself a lot than I question everyone around me. Those two things go together. When I figured out I want to do something this way, and then I start asking myself, why? Why not that way? Oh, look, there's another option there. Why not that option? And that is just me talking to myself. I wouldn't say talk to yourself is a skill, but in reality, it is. You should be able to address yourself, question yourself, think your way out of so many different situations we find ourselves. I will start with that before I go into anything technical. Be calm used to be an advice, it is now a skill. I would say that if you are calm, you are almost there because when you are calm, you can give yourself the opportunity to think. And when you are able to think, you can ask questions regardless of what is being discussed. I will start with that. I will stop there for now. Thank you.
Great perspective, Teapot. I like the way you think. Um, Giving yourself options, asking what are the different ways. I like that. Uh, Sachin Sharma.
Oh, thank you, Brijesh. So it's very hard to talk about anything after Teapot. When I listen to him, it's like, oh, how well he said from calmness to thinking, from thinking to questioning, and how well he related these things for a tester. I think I'll take one step little more behind or back, and I would say first, what is this word skill is? So skill, and I don't know if I have heard it earlier or I am the one who is saying this sentence since morning. I just said this that uh, to have great skills, you have to skill yourself. Now, skill is a noun and skill is also a verb.
Mhm.
People need to understand, they need to understand two things. One is the difference between skill and related words, which does not sound like a skill, but people understand it as a skill. I'll tell you: competency, talent, quality, hobbies. Also, people treat it as a skill. I mean, I love rasmalai. That's not skill. That's not skill, right? Competency is closer to skill, but that's not skill. Skill is something uh, which is an ability for you to do things well. But competency is ability to do things exceptionally well and successfully complete it, right? So for tester, and I like literally want to follow this title of the discussion, modern tester, the skill of modern tester, and I think it should be testing. Testing is a skill, and modern testers should believe in that. What is testing and how it is a skill, I'm sure we're going to discuss more on it. But I mean, critical thinking, problem solving, curiosity, communication, burning desire, open mindfulness, skills, right? Programming, coding, and all. But testing I'll keep as a very special, specific, exclusive skill that modern testers should have. And that's my take on this topic for you. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. I was expecting no less from you, Sachin. Faiz, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it will be difficult to add after what Teapot and Sachin said, but let me try anyways. So, uh, like, uh, like as human evolves, right? So, some hundreds or thousands years ago, how they were living, and now how we are living, there is a huge difference. But some things, or like we can say, mindset or nature of the human is still more or less the same, right? So, same goes for testing as well. Like, the way we are doing it might have been changed. Okay, the expectation from testers or testing might have been changed. Okay, but somewhere those, like I can say, testing fundamentals or the basic concepts, or at the and testing mindset, so those things still needs to be there. So if you know like x number of other things, you have x number of, or like specialty areas, okay, which are only sub parts of testing only. Like maybe it can be performance, accessibility, anything. But if you don't have that testing mindset, then I don't think you would be able to become, I can say, effective tester. So that is very important. And with evolution, we need to be aware, like testing has always been a technical role. Whether people may agree or disagree, that's a separate thing, but I believe it has been a technical role, because if you don't understand how things work, then how are you going to test it? I don't believe if you don't understand the things how are they working, then you will be able to test it properly. Okay, and now only thing is that technical emphasis is giving, the emphasis on technical side of things has been increased. But at the same time, people need to keep this in mind, that testing, it should not happen that by emphasizing the technical side, testing itself gets forgotten. If you are doing that mistake, then you need to be careful, because a modern tester should have, should be very good at testing as well as the technical sides as well. That's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Faiz. Great point. I want to start again with you, Faiz. You mentioned something very interesting. You said you spoke about the technical aspect, and
Yes.
you said testing is technical. Okay, people may
Okay.
want to agree or not agree. That is of course the case. Um, so my question to you is, when you say technical, does it have to do anything with tools,
No, it
knowledge of
doesn't have.
tools,
No, no,
or
it doesn't
or
have.
or it doesn't have to do anything with knowing the technology stack of the product? What How do you define technical?
So see, like for me, first ever of being technical is you understand how things are being done. Okay, rather than text tech, like let me give you example. Your application might be built in Java, .NET, Python, Go, any of the languages. Okay, but you need to be and able to understand the general aspects, like how generally a web application works, or how a cloud hosted application works, regardless of the cloud which is it being hosted on. So those kind of things, so you need to have basic idea about like how, let's say, if you are doing web application, then how browsers in general work. Okay, if you are doing web application, then how it is being hosted, how it communicates with, like how the interaction between client and server happens. So those things come first, then maybe tech stack, and then maybe tools. That's my perspective, because if you have those concepts clear, then whether it's about the application or whether it's about, doing special kind of, or we can say it's a targeted type of testing, it can be like performance, accessibility, automation, anything. But if you have this clarity, then regardless of the tool or tech stack, you will be able to do it. For the application testing, in to understand the application as well, to how to test it, and also to test it via like some tools or something. But if you are not clear about those ideas, then whatever the tech stack is, whatever the tools is, you want to be able to, somewhere you will struggle for sure, especially when you will jump on from one application to another application, one project to another project. So their expectation might also change, that what tech stack you need to use to, do some kind of testing with the help of tools. So that's why my thoughts are that one should be able to understand how things work in general. I can say maybe the basic computer science principles, like networking and all those stuff, and then probably tech stack, and then at last the tools. So that's what I think it.
Thank you for making that clear, Faiz. So so here's something that I wanted to ask, and I will go to Teapot again. Uh, when we see the resumes of candidates, okay, and we talk about skills, and there is very little mention of of the skills that you spoke about, and then there is a lot of mention of Selenium, Java, and all of that under skills. How do you look at that? What do you make out of that?
There is there is a huge misunderstanding, if we can use that word, uh, in our industry, in our profession, really. Um, and I don't understand why. And we have had several conversations where everyone has learned that it is not that, it is this. And as soon as everyone gets up from that conversation, they revert to the old ways. See, skill, Selenium and Java, and I look at those things as tools. Um, I look at them like tools that I can use, tools that I use to do my job. They are not particularly skills. They are tools in that you have to use them to do something. Can you do your job without Java? Absolutely yes. Can you do your job without using Selenium? Absolutely yes. Can you do your job without thinking? Absolutely not. You see, that is the difference. If you can, if you put someone on a project, and I have done this a few times, I've set up teams where we don't have these tools ready and we have to start working. So I say to my team, okay, I am trying to put in place a test tool, but we don't have it now. Time is not illusory, so we need to start now. Okay, so let's start. We continue doing it. When the tools get here, then we adapt the tools and we continue doing what we're doing. In some instances, we just go through the entire thing without the tools being ready. Can we still do our job? Yes, because what we are doing, the tools doesn't stop us whether they are there or not. Yeah, we can argue that it makes it quicker or smarter or makes us do more, but that's a conversation for another day. My point is, when we focus so much on these tools, we lose sight of the skills. Like some people would come to you and say, I'm looking for a job in automation, using Selenium and stuff. Okay, fair enough. I understand that perfectly. You have put yourself in about 2% of the jobs available. How about you go, I'm looking for job in testing. You have put yourself right in the middle of 100% of jobs available. And you can choose and pick. You see, when we speak this way, I don't want to call it ignorance. I think it's intentional. And I don't understand why some people insisted on using those terms to describe themselves, to describe what they're looking for. I don't know. But when you sit down and think about it, all those things we call skills, Jira, uh, test director back in the days, I think it's called ALM now, quick test professional, OATS, and all sorts of things we call skills, they are actually tools. Take them out of your skill set, then look at, if you take those tools out of your skill set, that will give you a proper image of your skill, of yourself, in terms of how professional are you at your job. Can you actually survive if there is no Jira, there's no Selenium, there's no nothing? You just come, they give you a pen and a paper and a monitor and say, we need you to test. And that's all you have. can you actually sit down? And I used to do this, right? I used to write SQL code on a piece of paper while I'm thinking to go, oh, select XYZ from this. I'm trying to find out. I'm not doing it on the computer. I'm just writing. Yeah, so those are skills. The last competition we had as a community, the one person that actually did automation was the biggest person that would tell you not to try and automate anything. Every single day, people goes about selenium this, automation that, automation this, every day. We had an opportunity for people to actually show us these things. Nobody did. The one person that did was the one person that constantly tells us not to automate anything. What does that tell you? Those things are just tools. They don't come to you naturally that I have a job to do. It's Java. Those things don't come to you naturally. What comes to you naturally when you have a job to do is your skill set. Like if you give me a job to do now, what are the first thing I do? Those are my skill set. And the funny thing? Those are the things I'm trying to automate. So I can have a checklist of activities that I do all the time. So regardless of what you ask me to do, I know that if I kick it off from here, I'm going to go through my checklist and check that I have done everything I need to do to prepare myself into going to that job. Those are the things I actually try to automate. So it becomes like a flow for me to go from A to B to C to D. I want to do it all the time. The first thing I go for is not to go and grab my Java or SQL or anything. No, those are tools. I may use them, I may not use them. I may need them, I may not need them. But I always need thinking. I need to think. I always need to ask questions. I need to ask questions. I always need to read and interpret stuff. There is a meme going around lately about people not liking documentation. Documentation itself is a skill. You should be able to write down what you have done, what you found, what you think of it, so the people that will make the decision can decide based on your output. So that is how I look at it. I don't see those things as skills. I see them as tools.
That's a pretty elaborate explanation, and I like the way you said it. And interestingly enough, you were spot on about the last competition that we had, and and when we gave people the option that yes, you can automate, nobody did. Nobody, not a single contestant tried, because probably they looked at tools like Selenium or something and they said, "Oh, does it fit the context?" Probably not. Okay, and they gave up. And the one person who did used Perl to automate stuff, which was quite amazing to see that you can actually write data quality tests using Perl. So it is a combination of thinking, it is a combination of looking at options and then trying out something that fits the scheme of things. Excuse me. I'm trying to keep my cough in check. But anyways, so Sachin, I want to come to you, and I want to bring your thoughts. Bring your attention to a discussion that was happening in the test chat Telegram group recently, and it continued for quite some time. I don't know if it has died or there are still some, you know, there is still some steam left in that discussion. So we see a lot of questions coming on automation and on coding coming in the test chat. You know, in the test chat Telegram group, but seeing that there was a question that was raised that this is a testing forum. Should these kind of questions not go to a programming forum? Because those were all programming related questions. And then came a question out of that thing is programming or coding an essential skill for a tester or not? And the opinion was obviously divided. A lot of people believe that it is an essential skill. A lot of people, some people said, no, it is not essential skill. What is your take on that, Sachin?
Well, I remember this discussion, and thank you for putting me on spot for this. Here is what I think, and it's purely my opinion about it. Uh, See, learning programming and coding for a tester, uh, I think the desire is fantastic, but the method is hopeless here. You you want to learn programming or coding because you want your life to be easier than what it is without tool or without coding. I understand it. I do it in the company right now where I am. I uh, do automation and I propagate automation to the entire team. I am ambassador of automation there. I have done hackathon with people. I teach them automation. So why I'm telling this, I am not opposing automation here because my next sentences may sound like this guy do not know automation. That's why he always say no automation, isko programming nahi aati, and that kind of stuff. I do it. But my point is anything that you can do with your memory, a machine can do it much better than yourself. But anything that you do with your intelligence, like Teapot was saying, thinking, no machine and no programming can do that. Testing is not related to memory. Checking is related to that. If you understand this difference and still you think that you are a tester, not checker, programming is not needed. But checking is also part of testing as a process, right? And that's why to have more intelligence toward testing activity, it's recommended and good approach to automate the checking part. For that you need programming. And well, another thing which just I recalled is Michael Bolton was talking about this thing, very nice post 2 3 week back. He wrote, it's the sequence is, and you know what, this context driven people, they use a word called responsible tester. They use this term. Okay, I want to just correct my sentence. They used to use this term at responsible tester. Nowadays they are using skillful tester. Very important term, and this is what we are discussing, skill. So what happened is, because testing is a skillful activity, for that you need skillful people, and skillful people are expensive. So testing suddenly become expensive activity for a lot of project. So what they did is, skillful tester will write some scripts and they execute it. They'll find some problem and that's how we'll do. But because they are skillful, it is expensive activity. So what they did is, relatively skillful testers will write the tests or craft the test, and the low skillful and low budget tester will execute it. That was the segregation in the beginning days. That's what Michael said. And then they said this is also expensive. So now skillful tester will define, derive, describe, craft the test, and an automation tool will execute it.
Hmm.
But then for that tool, this tester needs to write some script, which gets them into programming skills and affect immensely on their testing mindset. Then came these people who said, what if we will remove coding from it? Less code, no code, low code tools.
Hmm.
So your tester will still become testers and they will automate this checking part. The skill set will not, you know what I mean, right? That's how it evolved. It is evolving. So earlier programming was not needed because testing was there. I mean, people were there to test it. No programming because enough time, budget was there towards the quality. Now budget is a constant. In middle era of this 10 15 years, I have spent a couple of 5 years in that era as well. Programming was there. Now, again, time is coming where they say if you're a tester, don't spend time on programming. Use these tools and they are working great. I have tried a couple of them. In my company, we are trying one of them only extensively. Programming is not needed as long as you are doing testing. Now, somebody wants, I want to think out of the box. Think out of the box. Don't do out of the box. It's not needed. If your developers are writing unit test case, they are automating it. Use them. Why you want to learn programming? Use basic concepts of programming. Like Teapot said, without Java, you can do anything and everything in testing. Anything and everything in testing. Without Java, it's very much possible. Just because you want that one page or two page PDF to fill with these words, so that hashtag of HR will pick you and you will have interview planned, do not learn skills. It's not important. Right. So I'm circling back to that discussion. Discussion of any topic is very much welcome in TTC. Not related to programming. You talk about mythology, you talk about sociology, you talk about science, discuss about your happiness. TTC is for that, right? But if you are thinking that as a tester, you have to have this skill, and that's why you're talking. I personally do not believe in that particular perspective. I don't know if I made myself clear, but that's what my opinion was.
No, I think you did a great job in explaining your perspective, and I kind of endorse your view. I keep it very simple, and I wrote it in the post, the thread as well. That for me, a must-have skill is testing, and a nice-to-have skill is coding for a tester. Okay, it cannot be coding cannot be a must-have skill for a tester.
Right.
You
Compulsory.
you can, but then, and I want to follow up on this. But then there are different connotations and different you know things that come out, and I want to come to Faiz for this. So the argument that is quite often put across, and it was one of the major arguments in the chat as well, is that you know if you don't have coding skills, you are not going to be paid well enough. Okay, and the trend says or shows that automation testers or people with coding skills in testing are paid better than people without coding skills, which is a truth, which is reality. So, how do you get that? And how do you deal with that sort of an approach? How do you place this argument that Sachin made in that context? Fez,
Okay.
this is for you. Yeah.
Yes. So I think, see, like as I mentioned that everything is evolving, so technology is also evolving. Previously, we were following waterfall. Now almost everyone is following agile. Now it is a separate discussion whether they are following it properly or not, but they are following agile for sure. Okay, and and agile means many different things, but I think more or less people have considered it with the English word agility. That means they need things fast. Okay, at any cost. Okay, and here I'm not talking about monetary cost. Sometimes means we have seen examples that there are some websites, okay, which are thankfully not, we can say, critical kind of websites, but they are full of bugs, but they still work because they are not focusing properly on the quality aspect. They just shipping it faster, like they keep they deployed, or means I can say they push new builds more than once in a day. Okay, by having everything automated. Okay, and I don't see there is no. So what Sachin mentioned, like currently we are using automation. Yes, it is good. I have always been supportive of that, and I also slightly disagree with you and Sachin on that. That coding is not a mandatory skill. Okay, because I believe coding, even if you don't want to do coding, or even if you are not practicing coding, but just to understand it, you should at least do some try on with it. If you don't like. if you are going forward in your career, and let's say you may stick may don't want to stick with the testing role, you may go out with like a BA role or PM role or anything, then also this basic knowledge of coding, because you have experienced it yourself, definitely will help you in many aspects. Okay, so that was one point I wanted to add. Apart from that, so this need of doing things very quickly, so that has created heavy emphasis on this, like to have the test automation related skills, and ultimately it has become the demand. And somewhere in all doing all those things, somewhere people have focused more on automation rather than testing, but they forgot that it is test automation. So one cannot cannot exist without other. So they need to realize this, that, and I have seen that the companies which do understand this, the people who do understand this, that testing and automation both skills are like equally important. Or at least if you are saying test automation, then you should not, it should not be like someone is able to like very, I guess, a very good type of code, very clean code or something, but they are not able to understand like basic things of testing, or they are not able to identify the risks, whether it's related to the project or whether it's related to the testing strategy itself or regarded to the test automation tech stack or whatever, then they might find them into a difficult spot. But if the person knows testing and automation both very well, then definitely like it is going to be helpful for sure. And that is why and those are doing very effective test automation. So sometimes people, and but these things led to like sudden demand of the test automation people. And somewhere I don't know why or how this misconception started, but there is very huge misconception around the market, that people think that if they are knowing Selenium or let's say XYZ tool, sorry, didn't we didn't want to discuss tools, but I'm just giving a short example, that if they know just tools, then they are good to go. No, you need to understand how test automation we are means why is the need of test automation, what benefits is actually giving you. Okay, then you need to understand the technical sides and how applications work generally, and then how you can automate it in a generic manner. Then you can probably go with tech stack and tools. But people do the reverse approach. That's why they are also getting stuck somewhere. Okay, and now due to the sudden increase, like it, I can say, like it kind of one of wave came of this, suddenly they need this many automation engineers. And that's why they started paying more, that even if like they started paying more, that because they wanted them very quickly or very good man. But that's kind of sorted now. That's now created a trend where this pay mismatch is there. So I do not agree with that mismatch, because I believe that if you are a skillful person, then you should be paid as per your skill, and it should not be based on what skill you have. Okay, if you are skillful, whether you are a developer, whether you are a software tester, with any of the specialization, okay, whether you are maybe a like BA, PM, anyone, you are skillful, then you should be paid accordingly to that skills, not on what kind of skills you have, what specialization of skill you have. I hope I understood your question correctly and answered
No,
it.
I think you did a fair job, Faiz. You brought us a few more topics for future Chatterbox discussions.
Can I
Number
can
one,
I add to what Faiz said quickly?
yes, Teapot,
You
please
see,
go ahead.
in addition to what Faiz, and I think Sachin alluded to it as well, what I find really strange is that a lot of people who have these skills, Java, Selenium, and all of that, until someone actually tell them to use it, most of them don't think that they could apply it to something. Have you noticed that? They would actually wait, or they would expect someone like their manager or supervisor or whatever to instruct them to actually use these things. Now, if it is part of you, for example, I have seen people in conversation, and you guys have seen it as well, because when we were preparing for the contest, we saw it with Navin, we saw it with Lavinia as well, and then James as well. Out of conversation, you see people trying to like write codes to fix something. It's not like someone told them to do it. You see, and that's the difference for me. If you have all this skill set and everything, and you sit down, you're trying to do your job, and then you are expecting someone to say, I need you to use selenium to do X, Y, Z. Oh, come on. The reason you were there in the first place, according to you and your profile, is because you know selenium. So I expect you, as soon as you land there, start sprinting with selenium. Do selenium to use it to do everything. But that is the strange thing. People actually wait for someone, anyone, to go, right, we're using this tool. I mean, why? If you know that tool, I would expect you to just go into using it. So if you come in to my team, for example, and you sit down, you know what are you doing? I'm trying to write some queries to do these things every morning. Without me telling you, if I look at what you've done, I would adopt it as part of the things that my team does. But if I have to come and tell you, I needed to write 4 or 5 queries, that's just another task. You don't have to even use that tool anymore because I am now telling you. So that's the missing bit for people. That's what people don't see. A lot of people claim they have these skills and that tool and low-code tool and all the tools and everything. And then they sit down with something to do that they could actually put those things to use, and they wait for people to tell them to do it. Now, that is not intuitive in my opinion. And that's what I wanted to add to what Fai said.
No, I think that's a fair point that you make, Teapot. And just to talk about it a little more, I'll tell you some interesting things that I have seen. Okay, so I have seen people asking for job descriptions saying we need a tester with Selenium and Java and things like that because we are going to get into automation. So it's a future thing. Okay, and the job description clearly talks about it. So somebody in the company has decided that their application is going to be automated and they have picked up Selenium as the tool already. And if you go and look a little deeper, the person who has decided that and has posted that job has no clue of what testing is. Okay, I have seen this happen. Okay, I have asked this question, how did you come to this decision? And the answer was, no, because we have seen Selenium work smoothly for XYZ company who are our competitors. Just because it has worked well for somebody else doesn't mean that it will work for you too.
Exactly.
Okay. It may fit your context, it may not fit your context. So if you are looking at somebody else and trying to emulate them, well, take a step back, look at your situation. Anyways, that's again another discussion. I may divert the entire discussion, but there is some good points being made here in the comments section, and our good friend Casey is on top of things again. So, there is a thing
I
that
think Richard made a very good point in the comment in that most of this is money driven, which is true.
yes,
And the focusing on automation skill is a buzz. It's people trying to sell tools. And I find it very interesting that most of the people trying to sell these tools, like you said, Brijesh, they have no clue what testing is. I'll tell you something funny. Back in the days, right, when I first started out, when I was working at Fujitsu, one of my managers would tell you if we are trying to use a tool to do something, it would tell you physically, like someone wrote that tool, and that person might not even be a tester. You are a professional. How about you show us how it's done instead of us relying on that? And back in the days, I didn't quite understand it, but later I did because the license for Quick Test Professional, QTP, was humongous
yes,
per person.
still
And test
is.
director as well back in these days. The license to get one person on there is huge. And they were trying not to pay that money. so they encourage us to be hands-on. Like, look, someone wrote that too. Write your own. Show us what you can do. And that's a different thing now. So when people say, oh, this tool, that tool, that, I say to people all the time, and I'm fairly certain, 100% that I am right. The constant factor in any automation set up anywhere is the human being. If you take away the human being, there is no automation framework anywhere. Those Java codes will not write themselves. Someone has to write them. That someone is your automation framework. That is the person, that is the tool. That person is the tool. Everything else are just digital or technical assistant. That's how I describe them.
Yeah, that and that brings me to a thing that Faiz mentioned in his Tester Speak interview. He I think he was the first one who said to me that they are all manual automation testers. You know, because all the automation testers, they are using their hands to write their automation code. It is not being written on its own. So if they are using their hands, they become manual automation testers. So that's where, I mean, probably that back then we were talking about the famous nothing called manual testing. But that's where in that context. But this conversation does remind me of that. The center, you're absolutely right. The center is the human being, and if you take that out of the process, then it also reminds me of another thing that Michael Bolton said in one of the keynotes that he delivered. I think this was at Eurostar, where he said, well, when you talk about end to end testing, there is a human at both ends. Okay. And if you ignore that human at both ends, it is never going to be end to end. Whatever you do in the middle doesn't really make sense if you eliminate the human. Okay. So testing is about that human aspect, is about that, you know, uh, that person who is doing things, who needs, and the person who is receiving it as well. So, anyways, some interesting thoughts. And there is a question that has come from Casey, and here's the background to the question. And I will ask this question to you, Sachin. Casey says nowadays people are asking for proxy support, job support, and all of these terms in different channels. Then he follows it up with a question and he says, do you think it is going to impact the community down the line with bad testers entering into the industry and pushing down the real talent?
Okay, this is for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good, very interesting question. I think having this concern about community is really commendable. So first of all, great question, Casey. What I believe is ho- whether it will affect because of the bad tester entering into industry or community. See, we cannot control the level of entry that people are doing. What we can ensure is or foster is to spread or do our part as a community to educate them, to inspire them, to motivate them that whatever they are into, they need to understand it very well. So how I talk with people whom I know or people who I want them into testing, so I kind of convince them in the way that once you become tester and you talk 10 sentences about yourself, testing is going to be there in at least 2 3 sentences. First 10 sentence of tell me about yourself will have 3 4 word as testing. That's the importance of this word for you. So if you want to be a bad tester, choice is yours. Industry is not going to be affected because it's very, see what happens is when the rain comes, there are two type of birds we have. One, sparrows, they go into their nest because rain is coming, and then eagles, they go on top of the sky because rain is coming, right?
Top of the clouds, yes.
Yes, the cloud. So none of them are affecting the nature. That's their capability, but who get praise, who get referred, who have strength of teaching something new to someone is eagle, right? If you want to be eagle of your industry, you have to spend time. And and what Teapot was saying and Faiz was saying, I just want to extend that little, elaborate on. You have to spend time, but time with whom? I have spent time with two of you, Brijesh and Teapot, total 50 years of experience. Then I understand what testing is. Testing is not that one course that I have done in my early days of testing. That's not the testing. Testing is how I understand about this craftsmanship, this craft actually. And this is why I says there is this two line from Munawwar Rana, and he says that यूं ही चलकर नहीं ये तर्ज सुखन आया है, पांव दबाए हैं बुजुर्गों के तो फन आया है. And Teapot, for you, I just translated into English. It says that if you want to achieve something important in your life, it does not come as it is. You have to spend time with experienced, more knowledgeable, talented, such kind of people. Then only you will get that extensive thing that you want. Comprehensiveness in testing is important. So to answer the question, I am not worried about the testing industry, because if there will be 4 bad testers, I'm sure there are 10 good as well. I'm worried about this person who want to be bad tester. I want to talk to him and want to convert him to a good side of testing, because I care about community, and I also care about people, because people gather together to make community. Community does not make people. So yeah, my answer would be individuals are important and we should focus on them. Yeah.
Brilliant response, Sachin. Thank you for that. Faiz, I want to come back to you once again. So, uh, initially, I think it was Sachin or you, I don't remember, who said skill is a verb and skill is a noun. So to acquire a skill, you need to be skilled. You need to learn skill. Okay, so when you're talking about skills for a modern day tester, what advice would you give to youngsters, or in fact, as a matter of fact, what advice would you give to experienced people, okay, on those skills? What would be your advice?
I believe that like Teapot said that being calm is very important skill nowadays, whether you are fresher or experienced, because what happens that somewhere people do comparison. That's why they lose their calm, okay, and then they make bad decisions sometimes. Like Casey is mentioning, I would also like to talk a little bit about there are some unfair practices happening from the interview side as well. So like people do unfair practices, then get the job, and then like Casey asked, they again indulge into the unfair practices and keep the things going on. But one thing is that sooner or later, because people who are there, like managing companies, or I can say running companies, they are not they are not like I can say like newborns, okay. They know how the things works, so definitely they are going to catch it sometime. So as Sachin said, those individuals should be worried about themselves, not we as a community. Now coming back to the point which you are saying, that about skills, so first is being calm, okay. Then they need to there is one, we can say there is observation skills. Definitely as a tester it is required, and it doesn't just apply to the what we are testing, but they need to have that observation skills in terms of what is going on in the industry, like what is going on from the technology evolution. Because the new kind of technology, so see, there are two things. When a new technology comes up, so it will stay there for some time for sure. There is a possibility it may extend, or may be there till the lifetime, okay, till that person's lifetime. And there is second possibility that along with that it will obsolete one another technology, okay. So when such kind of things comes up, So you need to be aware, just need to be aware about those things, because it will definitely, because if those advancements are coming, so there will be some kind of software or hardware testing required, software testing, and when if it is software testing required, then definitely new kind of, we can say, some skills, I won't say skill set, because basic will be the same, but you will need to be understand those things. Okay, so second thing is that you need to stay up to date. Okay, you need to observe what is happening, not for the comparison purpose or something, but it shouldn't happen that you don't, like like let's say, you don't, even if someone says that they are not done mobile testing as a, what I can say, in a professional context, then I can accept. But if they are saying that that in a personal context also they haven't done it, I cannot agree with that, because being a tester mindset, and like the applications which I have been also using, and many people I have been using, there are one or two bugs you will at least have faced once in a lifetime. Okay, so those kind of things are there, so that is another aspect. Third is, I will believe that with how I see the world being progressing due to the pandemic, I think full office, working from office might not be there, means it depends upon company to company differs, but I believe that somewhere this hybrid or remote culture will still stay. Okay, in at least most of the companies. So like when we are working together, it's there is easy to we are able to communicate more properly. Okay, we are able to uh, like showcase our skill set also very nicely. But now due to this remote challenge, there are communication gaps, there are like I can say lack of bonding, and also there is like you cannot showcase that much about how skillful you are, or how insights you have for the project or something like that. So one needs to, I can say, level up their communication game. Okay, that is one more thing. And the fourth thing is they need to be, I can say, first is be open to every mindset or something, because sometimes people take it like personally, that let's say, I just give example like Sachin, and you said that for you coding or programming is not an essential skill. Okay, but I respectfully disagree with you on that. But I'm not saying why Sachin did say that, or why Brijesh did say that they did not know anything about testing or automation, right? I respect your opinion, you respect my opinion. Okay, we can disagree, but I also learned that you are saying, so you might be having some reason behind that. It's not like you are saying it just for the sake of saying, right? So I may probably indulge into that, and probably maybe after 1 year, if you ask me the same question, my answer may be that no, coding is not a necessary skill. But right now my answer is this. So that open mindedness should be there. And the last thing is to how to learn new things. That's very important. Okay, because sometimes people don't know how to learn new things, whether I'm not talking about just the technical kind of skills, non-technical skills as well. If you just master this one thing, one skill about how to learn new things, then you can then you can do anything, because then whatever skills you are lacking, you will be able to learn, and then you are good to go, I would suggest. So that's my so to summarize, one needs to be calm, or no need to compare with others. One needs to have like very strong communication game. If they have already strong communication game, they need to take it up one notch, uh, one level above. Then the other thing is they have to have that open mindedness. Then they need to have that observational skills to happen to understand what is being happening in the industry, and what is happening around themselves as well. And the last thing is to how to learn, how to keep yourself updated. So if they have these five things, then they are good to go, whether they are fresher or experienced. Yeah.
Thank you, Faiz. That was quite elaborate. Now, Teapot, I want to bring a question to your attention. I don't want to put the exact question, uh, but I want to ask you this. Okay, so there are a lot of tools that are available in the market, and there are bodies or individuals promoting certification of those tools. Okay, what's your take on that?
Well, I've said publicly so many times, my take on certification is weird. I see certification as a way to convince myself that I am good at something. if I'm doing something, if I'm using any particular tool or skill, if I'm trying to take the certification, is because I want to prove to myself that I'm actually very good at that thing. Now, certification doesn't really tell me anything about anyone being able to do anything. I mean, you learn something, you read a book, you've practiced some questions, and you practice some, things, and then all of a sudden you become very good at it, or you become an expert, or you become certified. What does certification actually mean? What does that piece of paper do? What does it mean? Let me tell you what it does. So some people would say, I need people who have this certification. They expect you to have a certain minimal level of understanding of the subject. So you showing them the certification means you have done that and you have the minimal level of understanding on that subject. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that you can do the job. That doesn't mean that you are good at the job. What it means was you were able to study and pass that exam. Okay. Now, I don't believe that we need all of these certifications before we can do our jobs. I mean, back in the days, ISTQB, for example, there's foundation, there's practitioner. And then there was foundation, intermediate, and practitioner. And then all of those certification expires and you have to rewrite them over time. And then some other ones came into the market where they expires every 3 years. Are you saying to me that everything I know in the last 15, 20 years, I've forgotten it now? I have to prove to myself that, oh, I still remember them today. And then in 3 years from now, I have to prove to myself that I still haven't forgotten them. It makes no sense. These are all business.
Yes.
What I know about, I'm not going to mention them, what I know about some of these certifications today tells me exactly why no one should hang their careers on them. They have business. They are business models. I've seen a lot of people who teach software testing, for example, who never practice software testing. Their job is they are software testing trainers. You see, they are software testers, they claim, but they never test. All they do is train people, right? You and I, we are software testers. We may train people, but that is beside the point. We test. You see, now the difference is when I train someone based on what I'm doing, I'm showing them I am doing it. That is me putting them to learn on the job. I am doing it. I am showing you what I'm doing it. Now, a person who doesn't practice, for example, right, would tell you what they've learned, what they've read in a book, how to pass the certification exam. So the certificate and whatever they call it does not actually prove or show that you are better at anything. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I use it as a yardstick to tell me that, okay, at least you have some understanding of the subject. It doesn't make you an expert. So if we look at it that way, and for example, when people say you are being shortlisted for interview, for example, it is after your interview that you've been successful that your certification comes into play. That is when they ask for it, right? If you don't know enough to actually pass the interview, no one's going to ask for your certification. That's the truth. If I'm talking to someone and I want to talk to you about whatever I have certification, let's just for the purpose of this conversation says exploratory testing, for example, and you are a certified master, you are a professional, I don't know what level we can ascribe to it. Let's say expert level certified at exploration testing, yeah? And I'm talking to you about exploration testing, exploratory testing, and you can't put two sentences together to convince me or to show me you know something. I would never get to see that certificate because you won't make it beyond that point. So it is what you know, actually. It is what you know that sells you, not what the piece of paper says you know. If you are having a conversation with someone and you are saying the things that they want to hear or they need to hear, you are solving the problems they have from what you're saying, your certification doesn't have any difference. They wouldn't recruit you anyway. So when you rely so much on the fact that you are XY certified, you are ABC certified, you are expert level certified at this, you are the professional IS grand, whatever, the most sophisticated software tester certified in the whole world, and someone says to you, how do you even use regression testing? And you have no idea. You see all those pieces of paper you gathered, they would gather dust on your shelf, in your house, wherever you keep them. So for me, certification is secondary. In fact, it's tertiary. It only comes later that, oh, do you have any certification? That is after you have shown, you have told what you know. That is after you have impressed people with your knowledge of the subject. And sometimes I ask people if they have certification because whatever they said ring a bell. I've heard it before. I've seen it before. For example, and I mentioned this earlier this morning when we were preparing, I spoke to someone recently who attended the RST course. That's Michael Bolton and James Back's course, right? I spoke to the person. I was able to identify what he was saying. I was able to shed more light on it for him, right? Now, if I haven't attended that course, I will have to go and research that. Then that is how the conversation goes. So if someone is speaking about agile certification, whatever that means, really, honestly, yeah, agile certification, and then you're saying stuff that I could recognize, I would ask you, are you agile certified? It's probably because you're saying nonsense, and I just want to be sure. Yeah, it doesn't mean that I want to go get that certificate. Most of these certificates are just people trying to make ends meet. They are just selling stuff. They are running businesses, and they are sending people around, people you trust, people you rely on. Some of them are your mentors and mine to run around us, selling these things to us. Okay, and that is why most of us are buying into it. It doesn't actually make any professional sense, because when you think about it, the standard of your work should be you. You are supposed to be the standard because you know what you're doing, because you are doing it very well. Anybody else coming to you with certification, you should be certified in what you do by yourself. Like, I am a certified software test manager by myself. I can show you evidence of what I have done. I can show you my experiences. I have people who can refer me. I have people who can tell you I have worked with them, what I've done, spanning almost 20 years or over 20 years. That is my certification. Now, if you want to give me a piece of paper to show me that I know software testing, thank you very much. I'm not going to pay for it. So that is my attitude to it. I don't know if anyone else says that way, but that is how I look at it. If I want to do a certification or a course or something, I'm trying to test myself to see, oh, do I still even remember these things? Like, I read the ISTQB certification syllabus. The first time around was like 1998 or something like that. If I pick it up now, it might have changed. I might not even recognize some of those things. I could go tomorrow and go, right, I want to go write ISTQB foundation test. I've been practicing testing for so long that I don't need it, but that is me. It's because I want to see what has changed, how relevant are the things I know to what these guys are selling, because whatever way they put it, they are selling you something. And if you believe so much that it is useful to you, then it is useful to you. But to me, I don't believe it is. I just think, well, I will read it. If I have the time, I will read it. But my learning is on what I do, because every single day I go to work, I learn something new. And then I practice those things I have learned. And that is how I get better. So the certification, I would say treat it with a little bit pinch of salt, because every single day, new ones will keep coming. We're going to get certification in exploratory testing. You're going to get certification in documentation. You're going to get certified in bearing your name. How long is a piece of string? How many of them can you actually afford? Meanwhile, you can actually learn and be better and be very good at what you do. And then when people talk to you, you certify yourself by what you say. by the knowledge you display in conversation. And that trumps any piece of paper anyone can give you anyway. And that is my opinion.
Thank you, Teapot. That was quite interesting, and that brings me to a thing that I want to share with you all. And this is a story about one certification that I did recently. So I was asked by one of my, or rather my boss, with one of my previous employers. He said, "Hey, you work in this company, and this company's primary thing is XYZ certification, and you don't have that certification. How does that work? If you work for this company, you better have that certification," is what he said. So he said, "In the next 3 months, I want you to be certified." And I was like, I looked at the syllabus, I looked at the course, and I said, "Oh, this is 250 euros to get certified." Then he said, "Don't worry about the money will come back to you. You will get reimbursed, blah, blah." But he said, "Do the certification." And when I started doing, I took the first attempt at a mock test and I failed. Okay. So, I went and asked, there were a few people who were certified trainers and all that. So I asked them, "What is the problem? Why did I fail?" He said, "Because this is theory and what you are thinking is practical and it differs. So to pass the exam, you need to know the exact theory. Okay, so you need to write what is there in the book and not what you practice on ground. Okay, so that is the difference." And I was like, okay. So I spent the next 4 weeks mugging up the entire book as it is. Okay, reading line by line and writing exactly the same words. And said, okay, so when I see a multiple choice question, I should remember this line exactly verbatim and then I should answer. And then 4 weeks later, when I took the exam, I did exactly what I wrote what exactly I'd mugged up and I scored 100% and I passed. So basically, what you do practically is totally different from that theory exam. And that theory exam is more or less a marketing technique. Okay, it is for selling stuff, like you said, Teapot. More in most cases. Well, anyways, I want to go to a question. This is an interesting one from Richard, and this is for you, Sachin. What are your thoughts on the concepts with automation being used as a quality marker? For example, X tests, X number of tests pass on this build, versus automation used to gather information. Release X use more heap memory. So you get the question, right? A lot of people use automation to as a quality metric. Okay. Whereas automation should be used to gather information. So what is your thought on that?
Yeah. So I think it depends upon at what level of automation implementation you have done. It it can be used for both the things. Uh, I'll tell you why I think this. Automation being used as a quality metrics is important, and a lot of people are using it. You automate mainly the regression part. Of course, you automate data creation part. You automate something which is reusable, repeatable, more logical. A lot of data is involved, so you prefer to automate. I mean, that is the best candidate to automate out of all the test cases that you have. But regression is something which is fixed, and I think automation should be done for that part which has a fixed step and fixed expected result, so that you know if it is working correctly or not. Tool cannot ask question, tool cannot think, tool cannot self heal if there is a problem. If script is wrong, it is failed. If application is wrong, it is again failed. You need to go and see what is the problem, whether it's a tool, the script you have written, or it's an application. So in order to ensure that your regression part, which you don't want to regrade after release, is correct, then you need to rely on automation as a quality matrix there. All green. I'm not talking about this green tick syndrome that everything should be green before we release, but a sensible green report is important, and that shows the status of quality for builds. Whether you are accepting a build, to start with your testing, or you are releasing that build to another environment after your testing is done. So I think it is a good practice to do. And then the second part of it was, I forget the question.
Here
What
it
was
is
that?
again.
Gather information.
Oh, no, no,
Uh,
no. Wait. This was not the question. This was the question.
Automation being used, yeah, to gather
Yeah.
information. Relax used more heat. I think this can be done as a. I mean, it comes with a effect of prob effect that we say. So you can gather this information through automation. I don't uh, see that only automation can do this, or if you want to do only automation is the solution. But for sure, quality metrics definitely should be considered for automation, and a lot of teams are doing. I do in my team, we do automation for this purpose only, to ensure that the quality of build is correct before testing, and it is also correct after testing when we are releasing it to the production environment or some other environment. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Sachin, for that. I have a slightly different opinion than yours, Sachin, and I kind of agree with Richard. Quality, so automation being used as a benchmark for quality, uh, rather than using it for gathering information, I feel is leading us in the wrong direction. Okay, this is
Okay.
my personal thought because automation, like I think it was you only who pointed out, is associated with checking, and
Yeah.
checking is just an aspect. So you can't use it as a benchmark. Okay, you can check, you can verify whether it's working or not, but that should give you more information. That should give you more insight into if things can be corrected or not. So if the check has found that
Yeah.
something is not right, it should be fixed. Okay, and if you observe a trend over release on release, and if you see, oh, you know what, I've been checking this parameter over the past 5 releases, and I see that there is a variation every time, there is a result which is not consistent. So I see a problem here. So that is giving you more information about the product. Okay, you are not using that as a benchmark or as a standard. So that is what I feel automation can help you do. So I kind of
I
agree
mean,
with you, Richard,
it's
on
like
that.
only automation format benchmark is not a recommended way,
No, no,
but
no, 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 no,
automation
no, no. The
as well
question
can be
here
used.
is where do you see more? If I am interpreting the question correctly from Richard, what he's basically asking is, so you want to use automation either as something to baseline stuff or benchmark stuff, or you're using it to gather more information. Okay, what
Okay.
is you
Now
what is
I
the but what is the best choice? So just to clarify the context. Okay,
correct. Now I
and
got the
in my
question.
opinion, using automation as a quality benchmark is it will you can use it, of course. You can use it, like you said, Sachin. However, using it for gathering more information is a more justified use
Right.
of automation, is what I feel. Now,
Correct. I got it now. So it's like you gather information and generate your insight on basis of this information, what to do.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Okay, so that is what probably Richard was asking. Now, there was an interesting question from Gandhar. He joined quite late and he's asked this interesting question. Nice to see you, Gandhar. Here. Uh, um, what are your thoughts on the future of codeless automation? And Faiz, Teapot is already laughing. Faiz, Faiz, I want to get your thoughts on this.
All right. So I think, so see, if someone had asked me this question, maybe when I started my career, then I might have thought that, please come back to me after 10 years. We will see whether there is future or not of codeless automation. Because from that time also, this, like I can say, these words were there, the tools were there. Okay. But over time, I have seen that, these tools have improved a lot. But having said that, what I have understood or what is in my experience, that these tools are, if we say codeless, actually it should be called as less code automation,
Low
because it
code,
doesn't require low code.
low
Yeah,
code,
because
not no
low
code.
code,
Yeah.
low code. Yeah, because it's more of they require, because they they try their best to provide you all of the I can say capabilities to automate your application, but somewhere you will need some custom, I can say, logic or scripting, and for that you will need to write code. Okay, so I'm not saying it is bad. Okay, but but it is first, so first people need to understand this difference, that it's not a totally no code tools, they are like low code tools, as you mentioned, Bridges. First thing. Second thing, like uh, like if the costing is not like, I will say that, because there is always constraints when it comes to anything, especially quality or testing. So if the budget allows, then I think codeless automation tool can be used as a, I can say, enabler to to team to deliver things faster. Okay, and they can probably have, what, maybe less people with having, like, who are good with test automation, more with the testing skills. Actually, what was that was the intention of test automation, that the things, like Sachin said, whatever things machine can do, let machine take care of those things, checking aspects, and we should use human intelligence. But right now, like, all the human intelligence is just many times used into creating and maintaining that that checking part, but that is separate discussion. Okay, so I believe there is a good future, but I see this challenge, that first is, even though they say codeless, it still requires little bit of code. Second challenge, I believe, is costing. And the third challenge, I will say it, that there is will be a learning curve required as well. Okay, so that those three things I see as a challenge. Learning curve, I don't think it would be much of a challenge, because those vendors generally provide good tutorials. They have blogs and forums and everything. But this thing, that it's not entirely no code, and especially the costing part, I think that will be the challenge. But if those things are sorted, and if there is no budget issue, and then I think there is a good future of codeless automation, I believe.
I just want to add to what you said, Faiz. The thing with codeless automation, as they call it, or low code automation, as I like to call it, the thing is, you know, most, if not all, of these codeless automation tools are very context specific. Okay, they were built with the idea of solving one particular problem or a set of problems that somebody was facing in their context. Okay, so it might fit other contexts as well, it depends, but they are mostly to solve a problem in a particular context. Okay, if it fits everybody's context, well, it is a thing to be seen. Okay, for example, I want to give you an example clearly. For example, a tool like Worksoft. The intention of Worksoft was to solve a problem with package software automation. When I say package software, it is the ERP software like SAP, stuff. So automation. So in that context, that tool was built. Does it solve your problem of UI automation? Yes, it does. It can do a good job. Okay. Does it solve a problem of doing visual regression? Yes, it does. It can do a good job, but it is not meant for that. Okay. It can do certain things if you want to experiment, but it is meant specifically to solve your problems with SAP testing. Okay. That is one example that I want to give. Similarly, there are other tools. For example, Provar provides a good codeless automation tool. It is specific to Salesforce. Okay. However, it has other elements as well which you can use. Okay. So again, it is specific to a particular context. It doesn't have to be a solution for everybody. Now, of course, these tools are evolving. They are adding more and more capabilities. Now, a lot of tools have started advertising on their AI capabilities. So building in, artificial intelligence, and some of them are doing really well. For example, initially when we started playing around with Test Project as an example, they came up with this self-healing capability where it will search for a locator by itself. Okay, if you don't get it, the tool will get it for you. So you don't have to scratch your brains or use a third party tool to find your elements, web elements. The tool will do it for you based on an AI logic that was there. Then now the tools have advanced. Okay, some of the newer tools have got predictive intelligence built into them, where they gather data constantly, saying, okay, you know what? In this product, this particular module is being used the most by the end users, and this is where you get most bugs because it is used most. Okay, and this is the one that should be tested more thoroughly, which means that it is doing the job of gathering information. It is an automation tool. And just like I was saying in the previous response to Richard's question, there is enough prediction built in the system which tells you that okay, this is the problem area. So there are tools with such capabilities as well. Okay, and they are in the low code space. Okay, so that is one. Then about the low code tools, the problem that I see is in terms of awareness and in terms of adoption. Okay, not a lot of people are still aware of the capabilities that these tools bring, and the adoption rate is slower than expected. Number one. Number two is the context in which these tools fit in. Okay, is still very limited. There are some 60 65 odd tools that I have found so far, and I'm still trying to figure out if there are tools which fit a broader context, and I'm still researching on that. There was a good article from Abstracta, a company from South America, where they had also published a list of such tools. They are also doing a parallel research, and I wish to exchange notes with them and see where we are heading because the direction seems to be common. So the codeless tools, to make a point, they do solve a lot of problems. They are good. They have a future. Okay, and uh, but the only thing is if they are used judiciously enough. Okay, if they are used in combination with tools which give you the capability to do descriptive programming, then you will get better results. For example, if somebody wants to use, off the top of my head, simply Selenium, okay, and if you are using Selenium in combination with some other tool which gives you that little extra edge, well, then that makes more sense. Okay, just like automation gives you some extra edge in testing, likewise the codeless automation tools give you some extra edge in your automated testing. Okay, so the tools definitely have future. Well, so I have a question now for
Before we
Teapot.
move to another question, can I say something, British?
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
You know this issue of low code tools, no code.
No code. Mhm.
The idiocy of it is people want to have automation or programming skills. Okay,
Mhm.
that is where we started from. Everyone believes, so a lot of people believes that having programming or automation skill is good.
Mhm.
So a lot of people wants to learn programming and automation skills. That was where we started from. Now we've ended up in a point where we're saying, ditch your programming skills. We'll give you tools that make sure you don't do any programming or coding skills. How does that even make sense in the first place? And that is the idiocy of all of these things that I see personally. Okay, so and again, there's no such things as no code, low code, whatever. What it means is your interaction with the code is minimal, or
Yeah, yeah.
don't have any interaction with the
It's
code.
it is just an abstraction layer. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just an
So
abstraction layer.
we're
Yeah.
going to have
So
a generation of testers come on thinking that is the gospel truth, that you don't need, like, I hope Amutan is still here and is going to lose his cool with all of these things, because he personally believes that every one of us should have programming skills, which is good, right? But when you're We now turn around and start saying, oh, this low code thing and that low code thing. It doesn't make sense because in one hand we're saying learn programming skills. It's good for you. We encourage you to learn coding. It's good for you. On the other hand, we're saying take this tool. You don't need to know coding. You can just write English language and you're good. It doesn't make sense. And as an industry, as a profession, that is something we should all pay attention to. What message are we actually passing on? Are we where do we stand? That is it that we should all learn programming skills and coding skills and be good at it with our testing skills and be proper professional or whatever? Or we should just go, you know what, give me a tool that I don't need to know any coding skills, that will write the Java and the SQL themselves, and I can just type in English language or Yoruba language, which is my first language, and it just does the job. We need to be mindful of that as well. And that is really confusing for a lot of people.
I'll tell you something, okay, Teapot. Sorry to extend this discussion, but I will tell you something from my experience. So I was with a customer, and they had their technology stack, was such that they needed somebody with the knowledge of Selenium, but with C sharp, not with Java. And a Selenium C sharp combination is harder to find in the market than a Selenium Java combination. So we kept on looking for testers with that, with the knowledge of these tools and this language. We could not. So we said, you know what we can do, because your need for automation is there. Can we bring in a no code tool in between to bridge the gap, the skill gap, okay, and the knowledge gap, and then in the meantime train our people on Selenium and C sharp so that we build that capability in house. So that is one perspective that the customer bought. Okay, there was a low code tool. I don't want to name that was brought in, which temporarily solved the problem, bridged the gap. Okay, allowed the testing to continue, achieve certain percentage of the goals for set for automation. But at the same time, there was an initiative taken to train the testers on Selenium with C sharp. So this is how you can actually augment one such tool to make progress. You don't have to be stalled. So if you want to make judicious use of the tools available in the market, you need to focus on the skills.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, skills are the foundation for using those tools. If you're not skillful enough, you will not know what tool to use. Right. For example, I mean, you keep saying this, Teapot, time and again, and I make use of the sentence. For somebody who has a hammer, every problem will look like a nail.
Yeah.
Right. This is something that you've said multiple times, and I like this. So for somebody who doesn't know how to use any other tool, or doesn't have the required skill set, they will always be out of focus in terms of tools. They will know, okay, this is the only solution for me. So I'll run with that only. So coming back, or bringing back the entire discussion where we started with skills of a modern day tester. Testing is the primary skill. The basic skill that a tester needs is testing. How well do you know the craft? I have met several, I think the number must be touching about 100, okay, of hiring managers who keep telling me that the folks these days are so focused on automation that they do not know how to test. Yes, coding is important. It will help you. It will take you ahead. It will help you interact better with your developers. It will help you understand the language in which they are talking. It will make your product better. Okay, knowledge of code will help you as a tester. But is that the primary skill? No, it is not. I'm sorry. Okay,
One
it is
hiring
not.
one hiring manager here, and I
Yeah,
100% agree with what you've just said.
yeah.
100.
I mean, you have said it. Okay, I have had conversations with people like Aprajita Mathur, Okay, she told me that she interviewed 100 testers. Not one guy could test out of 100. Okay, they all want to automate, they all want to write code, everything they say, and the moment you say no, you have to do some testing, the question is, oh, you're manual testing. I'm an automation tester. Why will I do manual testing? That is another the ghost of manual testing is always haunting. Okay, it is like a manual testing is like a ghost. Okay, nobody wants to do because people think, okay, in the industry, the concept is, oh, you're a manual tester, you do nothing, you click buttons, so you should be paid peanuts.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to believe that, okay, this person who's not using any tools is using his brain, intellect, is thinking, is asking questions. Can a tool do that? No. For heaven's sake, understand that. We've been talking about Selenium. Can Selenium ask questions? Can Selenium help you think critically? No, it cannot. It can only check, like Sachin said. It can only verify what has been done.
No, you can't even do that, Brijesh. Someone has to make it do that.
Someone has to make the tool do that. Exactly. Yeah.
Selenium can't do anything by itself. Someone.
Selenium can help you do that if you know how to use it well.
Exactly, that's the
If you
word.
have the skill to use Selenium properly. Okay, somebody asked in TTC itself, can you use Selenium for performance testing? Do you think it can?
Some people
What do you
can.
think, Sachin? Can you use Selenium for performance testing?
Some people can. Some
Yes,
people
you can
knows how
if
Yes,
to
you
you
know
do
can.
it.
how. Yes, you can if you know how
If
to
you know
use
how
it.
to do it.
You can, and you can do it from IDE itself. You don't even have to write code. If you are smart enough, you can do it.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you know how to, if you have that skill to use the tool properly, then you can solve a lot of problems. Basic skill is, do you understand the problem enough, well enough? Do you know how to test it?
That's why I generally say a fool with tool is still a fool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
If you do not know, it's not
Exactly,
matter.
exactly. So, gentlemen, any last thoughts that you have? We've been over our time now. So, any final thoughts from you, Teapot? Skills for a modern day tester. Final thoughts.
I'll just say that we should pay attention to the things that we do more often than the things that we used to do them. Because the things we do are the same wherever we go. We should pay attention to them. Those are the very important things for me. Learn how to do those things. Learn how to be better at doing those things. Think, question things, ask questions. One of my favorite saying is ask for help, not helper. If you struggle, ask for help. If you struggle, ask for help. That in itself is questions. Is asking questions. Ask a lot of questions from people. Ask. Don't put your entire career on a tool. These tools may not even exist tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I started out, some of the tools we have now they were not in existence. But now we have them, everyone is trying to learn them. Tomorrow might be, well, some people are already trying to sell me AI tools or whatever they call it and stuff like that. So be hands on testing, know and understand testing. The fundamentals of it are still the same. The way we do things are still traditionally the same. The things we test are different now. So learn to apply your testing skills to different situations. Well, if you have to use tools, well, by all means use tools, but you should understand first and foremost what you are trying to do before you can make a decision on the best tool to use. Okay? So that is really important for everyone to understand. Thank you for attending. Thank you so much to see everybody.
Well said, Teapot. But can I just do some advertisement, some promotion of a talk that I got invited to? So I will be talking at a in a panel discussion where we are going to be talking about AI driven automation versus traditional test automation on the 30th of August. So watch out for that discussion. Now, because you mentioned somebody's trying to sell you AI, I thought, okay, let me just promote. Let me do some promotion. Of course, so we should take the opportunity, right? Anyways, Faiz, what are your final thoughts?
So I think, in addition to what Teapot added, of course, what Teapot said holds true. But I would say that, don't be feared by technology or coding. Okay, at least no, be more technically sound. Do try coding, whether you are not going to write any single line of code during your entire career. Still, learn coding. Okay, that will be my another advice. The last advice is, uh, first of all, if you know something, don't hesitate to share it with others. Okay, you can do it via blogs, videos, as per your medium of choice is there. Another thing is, uh, when I started my career, there was not this many forums. As per my knowledge, there was not this many platforms for testers to help them. Okay, now there are these many platforms available for testers to help them. Plus, there are, now internet is also easily accessible, so both goes hand in hand. And so try to make use of that. Okay, not just be a silent, I can say, member or spectator. Okay, I can understand that you may think that there is sometimes you don't need to jump in. It's fine, but be completely silent for months or years, it's going to, it's loss for you only. And if you are asking for help, okay, there is nothing bad in asking for help. There is, because no one knows everything, no one has learned everything. But also you need to learn how to ask for help. So that will be my advice. Thank you.
Yeah, anyone who knows selenium is the kind of question that you get in the forum. Okay, what about selenium? Okay, what is it that you want? There will be a lot of people who would say yes. I Okay, so ask the right question. Yeah, that's very important. Or at least ask your question. Ask your basic doubt. Okay. Thank you, Faiz. Sachin, your final thoughts.
Okay, so I completely agree with what Teapot and Fez said. We are. I was expecting this discussion to be like this only. We did not talk about soft skill, hard skill, technical skill, top 10 skills of tester, because you have Google and couple of places from where you can learn this. What I would also say is, one thing is, write about testing, if you know, because until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify hunter. So if you are loyal, you have to start right about testing. Second thing I believe is timing is very important, because learning a skill is not ends learning it; it ends applying it, right? And the timing of how to apply that skill. When Dhoni hits that helicopter six on the World Cup final ball, that's what I call timing, right? So if you know how to hit sixes, that's one skill, but how to apply it on an absolutely amazing time, that's what make you hero. So timing is important. And third is your attitude. If you are a tester, you know that you have to upskill. Now what is upskill? Understand where you are, try to understand where you want to go, and just advance yourself by one step. Simple. And nobody is required for you to teach you how to do that. So they say कि अपने पंखों से नाप लेते हैं ऊंचाइयां आसमानों की, परिंदों को तालीमें नहीं दी जाती उड़ानों की. You do not teach them how to fly. They know, right? They should have wings with them and confidence over their wings. That's what testers should have. So my three recommended skill set, I don't know if it is skill set for tester or for anyone who want to take, one is the timing, second is to talk and write about it, and the third one is attitude towards going above and beyond, will make you a very skillful person, and that's what we need. Thank you for joining, everyone, and thank you, all three of
Such,
you for
such, Sachin, you gave an example of MS Dhoni hitting that six.
yeah,
Well, that is 11 years old. Okay.
right.
The more recent example that you should have given, or one of my favorite things, is the bicycle kick from Lionel Messi to score a goal.
Ah,
Okay, so he has that skill.
yes.
Okay, and he
Ah,
used it at the right time to score a goal.
right.
Right.
In
So
fact, that is done. Roni has done only this one thing in entire life. He has made goal 10, 12 years back. So that one spot is still famous. And like you said, Messi has done amazing things.
so, anyways, I want to before we go, there's a question from Ayan that we missed. Okay, and I would like to take that question. If someone don't have any new learning, okay, any growth opportunity within testing or organization, that there is no scope of career growth in testing, what should they do next, or what should they do in future? Well, if your organization is not, you don't see an opportunity of new learning, a new growth opportunity within testing in your organization, try and create something based on the skills that you have. For example, if you know how to use automation tools, or if you know coding, try and build something. Okay, show the value of what you know to your manager. Maybe that will create an opportunity for you. That's one step. Okay, so that is why being skilled helps. If you have that skill, if you have that additional knowledge, use it. Okay, try it. Try and do something different. And if your organization doesn't see it, find another organization that will see it. It's as simple as that. Okay, so be
Right.
skilled, acquire the skill, use that skill. Sachin, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it in one sentence. If you cannot change the place, change the place.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone joining this discussion. It was fun, chatting with my co-enablers after a really long time. This was supposed to be a behind-the-scenes discussion, and we turned this into a Chatterbox episode because Chatterbox episode has not happened for a really long time. So we thought, okay, let's take this opportunity. There will be more such intriguing discussions. Those of you who want to participate in future discussions, you know where to reach us, you know how to reach us. Please do. We are open to inviting all of you in such discussions. We don't believe that panel discussions should be limited to conferences only. We believe that we can have them anytime we want, and that's why Chatterbox was created. The idea is to get the views of testers, and also, if you notice, we like to take everybody's opinions because we believe that all testers have their unique journey. They have knowledge to share, and we would like to learn from everyone in the community. So thank you so much for spending time on a Saturday morning, afternoon, evening with us, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. For those in India having a long weekend, enjoy. Okay, have lots of fun. If you have plans of going out after this, please do. Have a good time, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Everyone,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, everyone.
Cheers.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye.